The Hangang drifted silently through the asteroid field, its hull gleaming under the distant starlight. Engineer Kim Tae-ho pressed his face against the observation deck window, watching chunks of space rock tumble past like froze and mountains. He had been on deep space missions for ages, but the vastness of the void still amazed him. "Captain, we're picking up something unusual on the sensors," called out Lee Sojin from her station. Her fingers danced across the holographic display, zooming in on the massive shadow hidden behind a cluster of asteroids. "It's big, really big." Captain Park Min-ho floated over, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. "How big are we talking?" "About 20 times the size of our ship," Sojin replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "And it's not moving. No energy signatures. No heat. It's just there." Tae-ho pushed himself away from the window and joined them at the sensor station. The object on the screen looked like nothing he had ever seen. It was sleek and organic, almost like a massive sea creature made of metal and crystal. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its surface, pulsing in patterns that seemed almost alive. "Could be a derelict," suggested Choi Yun-bai, the team's youngest member. She was barely 25, but had already earned her place as one of the best mechanics in the fleet. "Maybe from that mining operation that went missing last year." Min-ho shook his head. "No human ship looks like that. The design is completely alien. Those curves, those materials. We don't have technology like this." The bridge fell silent as everyone stared at the screen. First contact with alien life had always been a possibility, but seeing it happen was something else entirely. Tae-ho felt his heart racing. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. "We need to investigate." Min-ho decided. "Prep the shuttle. Small team only. Tae-ho, you're with me. Sojin, Yun-bai, you two, everyone else stays here and monitors our signals. An hour later, their shuttle approached the alien vessel. Up close, it was even more impressive. The hull seemed to shift and change color as they flew alongside it, like liquid metal frozen in time. Strange geometric patterns covered every surface, and what looked like viewing ports dotted the sides like glowing eyes. There, Yun-bai pointed at a section of the hull that seemed different from the rest. "That looks like it. Might be a docking bay." As their shuttle drew closer, the alien ship responded. A section of the hull simply melted away, creating a perfect opening just large enough for their small craft. Lights flickered on inside, revealing a docking chamber that seemed to welcome them in. "Well, that's either very good or very bad," Tae-ho muttered as Min-ho piloted them inside. The docking bay sealed behind them with a soft hiss, and they felt the artificial gravity take hold. The atmosphere readings showed breathable air, though slightly different from Earth's composition. They suited up anyway, just to be safe. Stepping out of the shuttle, Tae-ho gasped. The interior of the ship was beautiful beyond description. Walls, curved like ocean waves, covered in materials that seemed to glow from within. The ceiling stretched high above them, decorated with what looked like constellations that slowly moved and shifted. "This is incredible," Sojin whispered, her voice crackling through the comm system. "The technology here is centuries ahead of us." They moved deeper into the ship, following corridors that seemed to guide them forward. The walls pulsed with gentle light, creating a path that led them toward what appeared to be the central command area. That's when they heard it. A voice, speaking in perfect English, though with an odd, musical quality that made it sound almost like singing. "Welcome, primitive beings. I am the guardian of this vessel. I have been waiting for someone to find us, though I confess I expected more." A holographic figure materialized before them. It was tall and graceful, with features that seemed almost human, but somehow more refined. Its skin had a bluish tint, and its eyes held an intelligence that made Tayo feel like a child. I am Captain Park Min-ho of the Eve Guardian circled round the human team like a predator studying its prey. Its holographic form flickered slightly, casting strange shadows on the crystalline walls of the command chamber. Tayo noticed that the alien's movements were too perfect, too smooth. This wasn't a living being, but an artificial intelligence, though far more advanced than anything Earth had ever created. You intrigue me. Little Earth creatures, the Guardian said, its voice echoing through the vast chamber. It has been 3,000 years since anyone has boarded this vessel. 3,000 years of silence in the void. I find myself bored. Sojin stepped forward, her scanner beeping softly as it analyzed the alien technology around them. 3,000 years. What happened to your crew? Gone. The Guardian replied with what seemed like sadness. The Alterian Empire fell to civil war. Worlds burned. Civilizations crumbled. I am all that remains of their greatest achievements. It paused, studying the humans with glowing eyes. But perhaps you can provide some entertainment before you leave. Min-ho exchanged glances with his team. What kind of entertainment? The Guardian's form brightened, and suddenly the chamber filled with holographic displays. Complex equations floated in the air. Three-dimensional models of impossible machines rotated slowly, and streams of data flowed like waterfalls of light. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Behold the quantum core, the Guardian announced, the heart of this vessel. It powers our faster-than-light drives, our matter converters, our reality manipulators. For the past millennium, it has been failing. Soon, it will die completely, and with it, the last remnant of Alterian civilization. Yunbai whistled softly. That's incredible. The energy output alone must be beyond anything we can imagine. Indeed. The Guardian agreed. Our greatest minds spent centuries perfecting this technology. It requires materials that exist only in the cores of neutron stars. Manufacturing techniques that can manipulate matter at the quantum level and computational power that rivals the processing capacity of entire star systems. The holographic display shifted, showing the damaged sections of the quantum core. Even to Tayo's trained eye, it looked impossibly complex. Crystalline structures twisted through multiple dimensions, energy conduits that seemed to exist in several realities at once, and control systems that had to look at directly. Here's my proposition, the Guardian continued, its voice taking on a playful tone. Repair my quantum core using only your primitive human technology. No Alterian tools, no advanced materials. Just the simple metal and electronics you carry on your little ship. The human stared at the display in stunned silence. It was like asking someone to repair a nuclear reactor using only stone tools and tree branches. That's impossible, Min-ho said flatly. We don't even understand how your technology works, precisely. The Guardian laughed, the sound echoing like breaking glass. It took our greatest scientists centuries to develop this system. You are a species that still burns fossil fuels for energy. You haven't even mastered fusion power, let alone quantum manipulation. It would be like asking a cave dweller to repair a computer. Sojin's jaw tightened. She had spent her entire life studying physics, earning degrees from the best universities on Earth. She had worked on humanity's most advanced projects, helped design the engines that brought them to the stars, and now this alien artificial intelligence was calling her a cave dweller. What do we get if we succeed? She asked, stepping closer to the holographic displays. The Guardian's eyes flashed with surprise. You're actually considering this? How delightfully foolish. Very well. If you somehow manage to repair the core, I will share with you the location of the Alterian homeworld. There. You will find technology that could advance your species by thousands of years, star maps to civilizations beyond your imagination, knowledge that could make Earth the dominant power in this galaxy. And if we fail, Taiho asked, though he already suspected the answer, then you leave with nothing but the knowledge that you tried. I will not harm you, primitive though you may be. I am not cruel, merely realistic about your limitations. The team huddled together, speaking in hushed voices. The challenge was impossible by any reasonable measure. They had basic tools, limited materials, no understanding of Elterian technology. It was like trying to rebuild a skyscraper with nothing but a hammer and some nails. But as Sojin looked at the quantum core schematics, something clicked. In her mind, the underlying principles weren't entirely fun. Energy flow, matter manipulation, quantum entanglement. These were concepts she understood. Even if the applications were far beyond human capability. I'll do it, she announced. Turning back to the Guardian, her teammates stared at her in shock. Sojin, this is suicide. Yumbai whispered. We don't even know where to start. We start with what we know, Sojin replied, her voice growing stronger. Physics is physics, whether you're human or Elterian. Energy has to flow somewhere. Matter follows certain rules, and every complex system has simple principles at its core. The Guardian's holographic form flickered with what might have been amusement. Such confidence from such a primitive mind. Very well. Little physicist, you have 72 hours before my power reserves fail completely. After that, not even Elterian technology could restart the core. The chamber began to change around them, walls sliding apart to reveal a massive workshop space, tools that looked like works of art hung from the ceiling, and workbenches that seemed to be made of solidified starlight extended across the floor. Your workspace, the Guardian announced. Though I doubt you'll understand how to use most of it. Perhaps you should start with something simpler, like trying to count to 10 in Elterian mathematics. Sojin smiled grimly. We'll see about that. As the Guardian's laughter echoed through the chamber, the human team began to work. They had 72 hours to do the impossible. Using nothing but their wits and determination, it was exactly the kind of challenge that brought out the best in humanity. Hour 12, the workshop buzzed with desperate energy as the human team scattered across the vast Elterian workspace. Sojin stood before a holographic display showing the quantum cores. Inner workings, her eyes bloodshot from studying the impossible maze of crystalline conduits and energy matrices. The Guardian watched from above like a floating judge, occasionally making snide comments about their adorable attempts. This is insane, Yumbai muttered, wiping grease from her hands. She had been trying to understand how the Elterian tools worked, but every time she touched one, it either ignored her completely or sparked with energy that made her jump back. These tools won't even respond to us. It's like they think we're too stupid to use them. Taiho looked up from where he was examining a damaged section of the quantum core through a protective barrier. The crystalline structure was beautiful, but alien. Its geometry hurting his brain when he stared too long. Maybe that's the point. Maybe we're not supposed to use their tools. Minho had been quiet for hours, pacing round the workshop with his hands behind his back. As captain, he felt responsible for his team's impossible situation. What do you mean? Think about it, Taiho said, pulling out his basic engineering scanner from Earth. The Guardian expects us to fail because we're trying to solve an Elterian problem like Elterians, but we're not Elterians, we're humans. Sojin turned away from the holographic display, her face lighting up with sudden understanding. He's right. Look at this core design. It's incredibly elegant, but it's also incredibly complex. Every single component is a masterpiece of engineering, but they're all interdependent. If one tiny part fails, the whole system crashes. That's how they built everything. Yunbai agreed, gesturing at the perfect alien workspace around them. Beautiful, advanced, but fragile. One small problem and the entire civilization collapses. The Guardian's voice boomed from above. Are you quite finished with your philosophical discussion? You have 60 hours remaining, and you haven't even begun to understand the basic principles of quantum crystalline matrices. Minho smiled for the first time since they'd boarded the alien ship. Guardian, can you show us exactly what's broken in the core? The holographic display shifted, highlighting several areas where the crystalline structure had fractured. The breaks were clean and precise, like cracks in a perfect diamond. Energy patterns swirled chaotically around the damaged sections, unable to flow properly through the system. These quantum resonance crystals had degraded over time. The Guardian explained with obvious boredom. They require replacement with identical components, manufactured to tolerances of less than 1 atomic diameter, without proper Alterian fabrication equipment. Repair is impossible. Taiho pulled a roll of silver tape from his toolkit. It was standard Earth-manufactured repair tape, the kind used to patch hull breaches in emergency situations. What if we don't replace them? Excuse me. The Guardian's holographic form flickered with confusion. Human engineering isn't about perfection, Sojin said, catching on to Taiho's idea. It's about making things work, even when they're broken. We call it jewelry. Yunbai laughed, pulling her own collection of basic tools from her belt. My grandfather used to fix everything with duct tape and wire. Said there wasn't a problem in the universe that couldn't be solved with enough creativity and stubborn determination. They spent the next 6 hours not trying to understand Alterian technology, but studying how energy actually flowed through the broken system. Minho used his captain's training in emergency repairs to map out alternative pathways. Sojin applied her physics knowledge to calculate energy requirements and flow rates. Taiho and Yunbai began building bypass systems using materials salvaged from their shuttle. This is absurd, the Guardian complained as he watched Yunbai weld copper wire onto a quantum crystal housing. You're contaminating advanced technology with primitive materials. We're creating solutions, Minho corrected, carefully wrapping sections of damaged crystal with metallic mesh from their emergency repair kit. The energy still needs to flow somewhere. We're just giving it a different path. The most brilliant moment came when Sojin realized that the quantum core's complexity was actually its weakness. The Alterians had built a system so perfect that it couldn't adapt to damage, but humans had spent centuries learning to adapt, to improvise, to make broken things work again. Look at this, she said excitedly, pointing to a section where Taiho had rigged a simple electrical circuit to bypass a failed quantum matrix. The energy flow is actually more stable now. It's not as elegant as the original design, but it works better. They worked through the night, their basic human tools somehow finding ways to complement the alien technology. Where the Alterians had used single perfect components, the humans created redundant systems with multiple backups. Where the original design relied on precise tolerances, they built inflexibility and room for error. The Guardian watched in growing amazement as crude copper wires carried quantum energy, as simple magnets redirected exotic particle flows, and as basic electronic circuits somehow interfaced with technology that shouldn't have been compatible with anything from Earth. Impossible. The Guardian whispered as he observed their progress. The theoretical framework suggests this approach should result in catastrophic system failure. Theory is nice, Yunbai said, tightening a connection with a wrench that was older than some star systems. But sometimes you just need to make things work. Bio 36. They had created something that no Alterian engineer would have recognized. The quantum core still hummed with exotic energies, but now it was reinforced with human ingenuity. Tape-held crystalline structures together, wire mesh redirected energy flows. Simple mechanical switches controlled systems that had once required quantum computers to operate. It was ugly, improvised, and absolutely brilliant. Activating primary systems, Sojin announced, her hand hovering over a jury-rigged control panel that looked like it belonged in a scrapyard rather than an advanced starship. The quantum core began to glow. The quantum core hummed to life with a sound unlike anything the humans had ever heard. It wasn't the perfect, crystalline tone that the Guardian had described from the original Alterian design. Instead, it was rougher, more organic. Like a heartbeat made of pure energy, the damaged crystals glowed brighter than they had in centuries, and streams of power flowed through the jury-rigged pathways that Taiho and his team had created. Energy output at 40% and climbing. Sojin called out, her voice tight, with concentration as she monitored the improvised control systems. Her hands flew across a control panel that looked like a mad scientist's experiment, where Earth-made switches and dials had been wired into alien technology. The Guardian's holographic form flickered rapidly, its usual composure cracking as impossible. Readings flooded its senses. This cannot be accurate. The power output should be decreasing with such crude modifications, not increasing. Yunbai grinned as she adjusted a simple copper wire that was somehow carrying enough energy to power a small city. Maybe your sensors need an upgrade, Guardian. We're showing 60% power output now, and the system is stabilizing beautifully. Round them, the massive Alterian ship began to wake up. Lights that had been dim for millennia blazed with renewed brilliance. The artificial gravity strengthened, and systems that had been offline for 3,000 years hummed back to life. Through the transparent sections of the hull, they could see stars shifting as the ship's positioning thrusters activated automatically. 75%, Taiho announced, watching in amazement as his hastily welded connections carried streams of exotic energy without showing any signs of stress. The bypass systems are actually distributing the load more evenly than the original design. Minho stood back, watching his team work with pride swelling in his chest. They had done something that the greatest minds of a galaxy-spanning civilization had thought impossible. Using nothing but human ingenuity and basic tools, they had not only repaired advanced alien technology, but improved upon it. The Guardian's voice cracked with disbelief. 85% power output. This is impossible. The quantum resonance patterns are more stable than they have been in over 2,000 years. How is this happening? Sojin paused in her monitoring to look up at the floating area. Because we didn't try to rebuild your system perfectly. We built it to last. Every connection has 3 backups. Every energy pathway has alternatives. When one component fails, the system adapts instead of collapsing. But the theoretical models. The Guardian protested. The quantum matrices should be incompatible with your primitive materials. Copper and iron cannot channel exotic energies without catastrophic resonance failures. Yunbai laughed, patting a section of the core where Earth-made metal mesh was glowing with energy that shouldn't have been possible. Guardian, have you ever heard of human stubbornness? We don't accept impossible as an answer if copper can't handle exotic energy. We make it handle exotic energy anyway. The power readings continue to climb. 90%, 95%. Systems throughout the massive ship activated that had been dormant since the fall of the Alterian Empire. Environmental controls optimized the atmosphere. Navigation systems came online, immediately plotting courses to star systems that had been unreachable for millennia. 100% power output achieved, Sojin announced, her voice filled with wonder. And still climbing. Guardian. What was the maximum power output of the original design? The Guardian was silent for a long moment, its holographic form stuttering as it processed the impossible data. 105% was theoretical maximum efficiency. We never achieved more than 98% in actual operation. Well, we're at 112% now, and the system is running smoother than silk, Taiho said, checking his readings again to make sure he wasn't hallucinating from exhaustion. The Guardian's form began to change. It's perfect. Alterian features softening into something more humble, more curious. I do not understand. Your approach violates every principle of advanced engineering. Your materials are crude. Your methods are unsophisticated. Your tools are barely above Stone Age technology by our standards. Minho stepped forward, his voice gentle but firm. Guardian, maybe that's exactly why it worked. Your people build beautiful, perfect systems, but perfect systems are fragile. They can't adapt when things go wrong. They can't grow and change. Look at what we built here, Yuma added, gesturing at their improvised repairs. It's not pretty, like your original design, but it's stronger. It's more flexible. When something breaks, it roots round the damage instead of shutting down completely. The quantum core pulsed with renewed energy, and suddenly the chamber filled with new displays. Star maps appeared showing trade routes that had been forgotten for millennia. Technical readouts revealed the status of Alterian installations across the galaxy. Most amazingly, they showed other ships, other remnants of the great civilization, scattered across the void and waiting to be awakened. The network is re-establishing. The Guardian whispered, its voice filled with something like hope. Other Guardian units are responding to our signal. Ships, research stations, even some of the colonial worlds are still there, waiting in hibernation mode. Sojin wiped sweat from her forehead, leaving a streak of grease across her face. All because we fixed your engine with some wire and determination. No, the Guardian said, its voice stronger now. You did not simply fix our engine. You showed us something we had forgotten in our pursuit of perfection. You showed us the value of imperfection, of adaptability, of building systems that can survive. When everything goes wrong, the displays around them shifted again, showing technical specifications that made even Sojin's trained mind reel, faster-than-light drives that could cross the galaxy in days instead of years. Manufacturing systems that could build entire worlds. Medical technology that could extend life indefinitely. This is all ours, Taiho asked, hardly daring to believe it. This is the promise I made, the Guardian replied. But now I understand that I am giving you more than technology. I am giving you the opportunity to succeed where the Alterians failed. To build a civilization that is not just advanced, but enduring. The quantum core reached 115% efficiency and stabilized there, humming with contentment round them. The ancient ship prepared for its first journey in 3,000 years. Powered by human ingenuity and alien technology, working together in imperfect harmony. The breakthrough was complete. The Guardian's holographic form shifted and changed before their eyes. Its perfect Alterian features melting away to reveal something more humble, more real. The arrogant artificial intelligence that had mocked them as primitive cave dwellers was gone, replaced by something that looked almost grateful in 3,000 years of existence. I have never been more wrong about anything, the Guardian said, its voice carrying a weight of centuries. I called you primitive. I dismissed your species as insignificant. I was a fool round them. The quantum core hummed with perfect efficiency, its jury-rigged components working in harmony with alien technology. The ship's systems continued to come online, each activation revealing new wonders. vast manufacturing bays that could build entire fleets, laboratories where the secrets of the universe had been unlocked, gardens where plants from thousand worlds grew in perfect harmony. Minho felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. They weren't just explorers anymore. They were ambassadors for all of humanity, standing at the threshold of a new age. Guardian, what happens now? Now, you inherit what we could not preserve. The Guardian replied. Suddenly, the chamber filled, with star maps showing the locations of Alterian installations across the galaxy. Dozens of worlds, hundreds of research stations, and fleets of ships waiting in the void. But first, you must understand what you are truly inheriting. The holographic display shifted, showing the rise and fall of the Alterian Empire. Beautiful cities that reached toward the stars. Fleets of ships that could reshape reality itself. Beings of incredible intelligence who had mastered every force in the universe. And then, the slow decay, the gradual stagnation, the Empire's collapse not from external threat, but from internal weakness. We became too perfect. The Guardian explained. Our technology was flawless, our society was ordered, and knowledge was complete. But perfection, we discovered, is death. When nothing can go wrong, nothing can grow. When every problem has been solved, creativity dies. When every system works perfectly, adaptation becomes impossible. So Jin studied the historical records. Flowing past them, your people couldn't handle change. When the unexpected happened, they had no way to adapt, precisely. A single plague, a civil war, a resource shortage, and our perfect civilization crumbled like sand. We had built ourselves into a corner of perfection, and when the universe demanded flexibility, we had none to give. Yunbai looked at their improvised repairs, suddenly understanding the deeper significance of what they had accomplished. But humans are different. We've never been perfect. We've always had to adapt, to improvise, to survive with whatever we could find. Yes, the Guardian's voice rang with excitement. That is your gift. Not your technology, not your science, but your ability to find solutions where none should exist. Your talent for making the impossible work through sheer determination and creativity. The star maps zoomed in on a particular system, showing a world that took their breath away. Spires of crystal reached toward the heavens, connected by bridges of light that spanned continents. Oceans sparkled with bioluminescent life, and rings of artificial satellites created patterns of beauty around the planet. Alteria Prime. The Guardian announced, the home world of our civilization, empty now, but still functional. Its libraries contain the knowledge of 1,000,000 worlds. Its factories can build anything imaginable. Its laboratories hold the secrets of life itself. Taiho stared at the images, hardly believing what he was seeing. You're giving us an entire world. I am giving you the responsibility to succeed where we failed. The Guardian corrected. But you will not be alone. Other ships across the galaxy are awakening. Other Guardian units are analyzing what you have accomplished here. Word of your achievement is spreading through the network. The displays showed other Alterian vessels coming online, their quantum cores activating after millennia of dormancy. Research stations in distant star systems began broadcasting their locations. Even some of the colonial worlds started sending signals indicating that Alterian populations had survived in hibernation, waiting for the Empire to return. Some of our people still live, Minho asked, amazed. A few, not many, but enough to remember what we were, and perhaps to learn what we could become. The Guardian paused, its form flickering with what might have been emotion. They will want to meet the species that accomplished what we could, not the beings who improved upon our greatest achievement using copper wire and determination. Sojin laughed, a sound of pure joy that echoed through the ancient chamber. Wait until they meet the rest of humanity. If they think we're impressive, they should see what we can do when we really try. The Guardian's form brightened. That is exactly what I am hoping for. The coordinates to Ulterior Prime are now in your ship's navigation system. The access codes to our installations are yours. The knowledge of our civilization is at your disposal. But remember, the Guardian continued, its voice taking on a serious tone. With this gift comes responsibility. The technology you now possess could lift your species to heights we never imagined, or it could destroy you as surely as it destroyed us. The choice is yours. Minho looked at his team, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had driven them to accomplish the impossible. We understand. We'll be careful. But we'll also be human. We'll adapt. We'll improve. We'll find new solutions to old problems, and we'll share. Yumbai added, not just with other humans, but with anyone who needs help. That's what we do. The Guardian nodded slowly. Yes, that is why you will succeed where we failed. You do not seek perfection. You seek progress. You do not build monuments to your achievements. You build bridges to the future. As the massive ship began to move through space for the first time in 3,000 years, the human team prepared to return to their shuttle. They carried with them the coordinates to wonders beyond imagination, the keys to technology that could reshape the galaxy, and most importantly, the knowledge that humanity had something unique to offer the universe. The Guardian watched them go, its ancient loneliness finally broken by the promise of new friends, new ideas, and new solutions to old problems. As their shuttle departed, it sent a message across the galaxy to every awakening Guardian unit, every dormant installation, every sleeping world. The inheritors have arrived. And they are magnificent. The End.RTH vessel Hangang, Minho said, trying to keep his voice steady. We come in peace. The Guardian's expression showed what might have been amusement. Yes, I have heard of your species. You are the ones who still use chemical rockets and metal tools. How quaint. Taiho felt a flush of anger. We may not be as advanced as you, but we've come a long way. We've built cities, explored space, created art and music, created. The Guardian laughed. A sound like crystal chimes. Child, you have barely learned to make fire compared to the Alterian civilization. We have traveled between galaxies, reshaped worlds, and unlocked the secrets of time itself. You are nothing more than clever animals playing with toys. The words stung. But Taiho stood his ground. Round him, his teammates tensed. They had come here as explorers, as representatives of humanity, and this alien was treating them like children. We may be young as a species, Taiho said quietly, but we're here. We found you, and we're not going anywhere. The Guardian's eyes seemed to glow brighter, studying them with new interest.